He called the box his insurance policy. My own son planned to bury me alive to save himself. He thought my meticulous life was weak, small, and boring. He was about to learn that precision can be a very dangerous weapon. If you're listening, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. My name is David Harris. I'm a machinist, and this is the story of how a simple Sunday morning turned into a war zone. It was early, Father's Day. The sun was barely clearing the trees, painting the sky a weak, pale blue. I was in the kitchen, grinding coffee beans. The smell usually calmed me. Not today. A delivery van stopped outside. White, unmarked. It was too early for a Sunday delivery. I watched through the window. A man in a generic brown uniform dropped a package on the porch. He didn't ring the bell. He didn't scan it. He just left. Fast. My stomach tightened. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. I opened the front door. The package sat there on the concrete. It was wrapped in shiny, cheap blue paper. The kind you buy at a dollar store when you forget an occasion. I picked it up. It was heavy, much heavier than it looked. A tag was taped to the top. I recognized the handwriting instantly. Sloppy, rushed. It was my son's, Ethan. It read, "Happy Father's Day, Dad. Thought you could use this. We hadn't spoken in 6 months, not since I refused to give him $20,000 for a sure thing." He screamed at me that day, called me small. I looked at the box. This wasn't an olive branch. It felt like a trap. A stupid, fragile hope flickered inside me anyway. Maybe this was it. Maybe he was coming home. That hope died fast. My wife Sarah stepped outside. She held her favorite mug. Steam rose in the cool morning air. She saw the box and stopped dead. Her hand went to her throat. "David," she whispered, "is that—" "It's from Ethan," I said. My voice sounded rough, like sandpaper. She didn't smile. She didn't look happy. She looked terrified. And that scared me more than the box. "Don't open it," Sarah said. Her voice was flat, hollow, the way it gets when she sees something broken beyond repair. "Why?" I frowned, turning the box over in my hands. "It's a gift. Look at it, David. Really look. I've run a precision machining workshop for 35 years. I live by details. Micrometers, tolerances. I don't miss much." I looked closer. The details were screaming at me. The tape wasn't right. It wasn't the original seal. Someone had sliced the cardboard under the wrapping paper. They resealed it. Badly. The edges were misaligned by at least 3 millimeters. Sloppy work. I noticed a greasy smudge near the corner, like cheap fast food or engine oil. Ethan was careless, but this was different. This felt contaminated. But that wasn't the worst part. I peeled back a corner of the wrapping paper to look at the shipping label. It was my address. But the name wasn't mine. It was addressed to Frank Miller. I didn't know a Frank Miller. I froze. My blood turned to ice. Ethan's handwritten tag was on a box meant for a stranger. A box that had been tampered with. This wasn't a mix-up. It was intentional. It was a setup. I looked at Sarah. Her face was pale, tight with fear. I made a decision right there. A decision that would detonate the foundation of our family. I set the box down, gently. I pulled out my phone. "David, what are you doing?" Sarah asked, her voice shaking. I didn't answer her. I dialed 911. 10 minutes later, 2 police cruisers arrived. No sirens, just flashing lights. They painted our quiet suburban street red and blue. The peaceful Sunday I had planned was gone. It was replaced by the day I started the process of destroying my only son. The police didn't open the box on the porch. They treated it like a bomb. They bagged it, tagged it, took it away. The silence they left behind was heavier than the package. A detective arrived next. A tired-looking man in a cheap, wrinkled suit. He introduced himself as Detective Rollins. He sat in our living room, his notepad open. He asked questions about Frank Miller, about the courier, and inevitably about Ethan. "When was the last time you saw your son, Mr. Harris?" Rollins asked. He rubbed the bridge of his nose, a weary gesture. 6 months ago, I said. The words tasted like ash. "And your relationship?" I hesitated. "How do you explain that your son despises you for wanting him to have a stable life?" I couldn't find the words. I told him the truth, the version I could stomach. Ethan dropped out of his engineering program, the program I hoped he'd use to take over the workshop. My legacy. He threw it away. He said he needed his own path. I explained. His path involved people with expensive watches and no jobs. He wouldn't do this, Sarah whispered. She was clutching her robe tightly around her. He's lost, David, but he's our son. He wouldn't bring danger here. I stared at the spot on the floor where Rollins had set his briefcase. The boy we raised wouldn't, I said. But who is he now, Sarah? Honestly, who is he? Rollins just watched us, taking notes, saying nothing, but his eyes told me he'd seen this story before. Many times. The last time I saw Ethan, it was ugly. He showed up at my workshop. The smell of machine oil and metal shavings filled the air. He demanded that $20,000. I'm not funding this lifestyle, Ethan, I told him. I stood firm, his face twisted, a sneer I barely recognized. You just want me to be a grease monkey like you, he screamed. You can't stand that I'm going to be bigger than you ever were. He stormed off. I let him go. I thought I was teaching him a lesson. I was wrong. I was just pushing him further into the dark. Detective Rollins finally left. The house was too quiet. Too still. The air felt thin, hard to breathe. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. A text from Ethan. Did you get it? 4 words. The timing. The casualness. It chilled me to the bone. I didn't reply. I just stared at the screen. Sarah looked over my shoulder. What do? We wait, I said. But I knew waiting wouldn't be enough. The storm was coming. A few hours later, Ethan called. I let it go to voicemail. He called again, immediately. Sarah nodded, her eyes pleading. Answer it. Talk to him. I picked up. Hey, Dad. Happy Father's Day. Ethan's voice was too bright. A performance. A bad one. Ethan, I said. My voice was level, mechanical. A package arrived today. Yeah, that's my gift. Did you open it yet? There was an edge to his voice now. A vibration of nervousness he couldn't hide. He was fishing. It was addressed to a Frank Miller, I said. I watched Sarah's reaction. She flinched. Silence. A long, heavy pause. I could hear the gears turning in his head. The lies forming. Oh, Ethan finally said. The brightness dimmed. Weird. Must have been a mix-up at the shipping center. I used a third-party service. Anyway, just open it. It's for you. He was lying. I could hear it in the way he breathed. Fast. Shallow. I don't think I should, Ethan. It feels strange. It's just tools, Dad, he snapped. The facade crumbled. The desperation leaked out. I know you needed a new torque wrench set for the shop. Jesus, just open the damn box. I hadn't needed a new torque wrench set for the shop. Jesus, just open the damn box. I hadn't needed a new torque wrench set. My tools were perfectly calibrated. Ethan hadn't stepped foot in my workshop in over a year. He wouldn't know what I needed. He was lying, and he was lying badly, and that meant he was in serious trouble. The police took it, Ethan, I said. I dropped the words like lead weights. What? The word was a strangled gasp. Why? Why would you call the cops? Because the package felt wrong. Because it wasn't addressed to me. His voice shifted. Panic replaced the anger. You can't let them open it, he shouted. You have to get it back. Tell them it was a mistake. Tell them it's sensitive equipment. Sensitive equipment.
Another lie. It's out of my hands now. No, it's not. Listen to me, Dad. You have to fix this. Now. I'm coming over. He hung up. Sarah looked at me. Terror filled her eyes. David, what is going on? What was in that box? I don't know, I said.
I rubbed the tension headache forming behind my eyes. But we can't let him back in this house until we do. I thought calling the police would end the threat. I was about to find out it had only just begun. Ethan didn't show up, but the pressure started to build. Subtle at first, then sharp, undeniable. That afternoon a car appeared. A black sedan, tinted windows. It circled the block, slow, deliberate. It wasn't just driving by, it was scouting. It paused at the end of our driveway. The engine idled low, menacing. Then it peeled off. An hour later it was back. They weren't hiding anymore. They're watching us, Sarah, Sarah said. Her voice trembled, She was peering through the blinds. She hadn't moved from that spot for hours. Or they're waiting for the package, I replied. The realization settled in my gut. We were caught in the middle of something far beyond Ethan's usual recklessness. We were hostages in our own home. My phone rang. Unknown number. I usually ignored them. Not today, I answered, my grip tight on the phone. Silence, then a rough digitized voice, like they were using a voice changer. Is Frank there? Wrong number, I said. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Frank Miller, the name on the box. They knew the package was meant for here. And now they knew we didn't have it. The danger just multiplied. The next morning, I needed sanctuary. I went to my workshop. I needed the familiar smell of coolant and steel, the predictable hum of the CNC machines. I needed control. My foreman, Mike, met me at the door. Mike had been with me for 20 years. Loyal, observant, bald head, thick forearms. His face was grim. Boss, we got a problem, Mike said. He pointed to the side entrance. The reinforced steel door was damaged. The lock mechanism was gouged deep. A crowbar. They hadn't gotten in. I designed the security system myself, but the attempt was clear. It was a message. They thought the box might be here. Did the cameras catch anything? I asked. I already knew the answer. They cut the power line to the external cameras first, Mike said, shaking his head. This was professional, David. Not some kids looking for scrap metal. They were closing in, tightening the perimeter, and I had nowhere to run. When I got home, the atmosphere was suffocating. Sarah was frantic. Ethan called again, she said. Her voice was choked with tears. He was crying, David, sobbing. My heart clenched. Despite everything, he was still my son. He said he's in real trouble this time, she continued. He said if we don't help him, they are going to kill him. The professionals. The black sedan. Help him how? I asked. Dread pulled in my stomach. He said he needs the package back. He said we have to tell Detective Rollins it was a misunderstanding. A stupid prank. A prank? I exploded. Sarah, someone tried to break into the workshop. They're watching the house. This isn't a game. He's scared, David. He's our son. We have to protect him. Her maternal instinct was overriding her reason. She wanted to lie to the police, to obstruct justice, to save the boy, she remembered. Protect him by dragging ourselves into whatever mess he's created. I argued. My voice was rising. We could go to jail, Sarah. Or worse. I don't care, she screamed. I won't let them hurt him. We fought a bitter, hushed argument in the kitchen, the fear pressing in on us. We didn't reach a resolution. We just retreated. The silence between us stretched thin. I loved my wife, but right now her denial was dangerous. It was threatening to tear us apart. That night the black sedan was back, parked across the street. It didn't move. I felt a primal urge to defend my territory. I went to the garage. I retrieved the heavy steel flashlight from my toolbox. The weight was reassuring. I wasn't a violent man, but I would protect Sarah. I would protect my home. I didn't sleep that night. I just watched the sedan, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. The confrontation happened the next afternoon. I was taking out the trash. I needed to show them I wasn't hiding. The black sedan accelerated. It blocked my driveway. A man got out of the passenger side. Big, muscled, expensive suit that didn't quite fit right. Sunglasses, even though it was cloudy. He walked towards me, fast. He moved with the arrogance of someone used to intimidating people. You must be Frank's landlord, he said. His voice was smooth, too smooth. I recognized the type. I called him Victor in my head. He looked like a Victor. I don't know any Frank, I said. I kept my voice steady. I held the flashlight behind my back, hidden from view. Victor smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Frank had a delivery. A blue box. We're here to pick it up. It's gone, I said. Victor stepped closer, invading my space, trying to loom over me. Gone where? The police have it. I wanted him to know I wasn't afraid. even though I was terrified. Victor's smile vanished. His eyes narrowed behind the sunglasses. That was a mistake, old man. A very expensive mistake. He poked me in the chest. Hard. My employer, Mr. Rico, doesn't like mistakes. He expects his property returned, or he expects payment. Rico. The name hit me like a punch. The shadow finally had a name. Get off my property, I said, my voice low. Dangerous. Victor laughed. You have 24 hours to get that box back. If you don't, we'll start dismantling your life, piece by piece. He got back in the sedan. It peeled out, leaving the smell of burning rubber and the taste of fear. They weren't just threatening Ethan anymore. They were threatening us. The war had officially begun. The pressure cooker finally exploded the next day. Detective Rollins called me. Mr. Harris, he said. His voice was grave. The tiredness was gone, replaced by cold professionalism. We opened the box. I held my breath, bracing for the impact. And it wasn't tools. He paused. I could hear him shuffling papers on his desk. It contained 6 handguns, military grade, serial numbers filed off. My stomach dropped. Guns, untraceable weapons. But that wasn't the worst part. In approximately 2 kilograms of uncut cocaine, Rollins continued, street value is significant. The air rushed out of my lungs. Drugs. This wasn't youthful rebellion. This wasn't bad investments. This was organized crime. This was life-destroying stuff. My son was a drug trafficker. A criminal. The reality was staggering. We also traced the shipping account, Rollins said. His voice was relentless. It was opened using a prepaid card, but the IP address used to access the account. It traced back to a coffee shop 2 blocks from your son's apartment. I closed my eyes. The betrayal wasn't just a punch to the gut. It was a knife twist. He hadn't just sent the box here to hide it. He sent it here, knowing that if things went wrong, the trail would lead straight to me. The Father's Day tag wasn't just a cover. It was a mockery. He was willing to sacrifice me, his own father, to save himself. The selfishness was breathtaking. We need to bring Ethan in for questioning, Mr. Harris, Rollins said. We have a warrant for his arrest. Do you know where he is? No, I whispered. The word was raw, painful. I don't. I hung up. I looked at Sarah. I didn't have to say anything. She knew from the look on my face. The devastation. He wouldn't, she choked out. Tears streamed down her face. Denial warring with a horrific truth. Not guns, David. Not drugs. Not our Ethan. He did, Sarah. He sent it here. On Father's Day. The realization hit her. A physical blow. She collapsed onto the couch, her body racked with silent sobs. I sat beside her, numb. The reality of our situation settled over us like a shroud. Our life, as we knew it, was over. That evening, Ethan showed up, not at the front door, at the back. He jimmied the kitchen window, the same way he used to when he snuck out as a teenager. The familiar sound was now laced with menace. He looked terrible. His eyes were red-rimmed, wild, his skin pale and clammy. He was jumpy, twitching. He wasn't my son anymore. He was a cornered animal. Dangerous. Where is it? He demanded. His voice, a harsh whisper. He stepped into the kitchen, bringing the cold night air with him. The police have it, I said. I stood slowly. I positioned myself between him and Sarah. Ethan stared at me. Disbelief. Then rage. You called the cops? On me, your own son. The audacity was staggering. He still thought he was the victim. You sent guns and drugs to my house, Ethan, I yelled. What did you expect me to do? They weren't for you, he yelled back. He paced the kitchen, caged. They were just supposed to be here for a few hours. It was a simple drop. You ruined everything. A simple drop? Sarah cried. Hysteria edged her voice. Ethan, who are these people? A man named Rico? Ethan froze. His face went white. How do you know that name? They came here, Ethan. They threatened us, I said. Rico sent his muscle. Oh, God. Ethan stumbled back, grabbing the counter. They're going to kill me now. Because of you. He pointed a trembling finger at me. The blame shifting again. Always shifting. Ethan, the police are looking for you. Turn yourself in. We can get you a lawyer, I pleaded. A last desperate attempt to reach the boy I loved. Turn myself in? He laughed. A harsh, ugly sound. And spend the rest of my life in prison? No way. I need money. I need to get out of town. Now. I'm not giving you money, Ethan, I said. My voice was cold, dead. He stopped pacing. He looked at me. His eyes narrowed. In that moment, the last vestiges of the boy I raised evaporated. In his place was a stranger, cold, calculating. You owe me, he hissed. I owe you. The entitlement was unbelievable. I gave you everything, Ethan. Education. A home. Love. You gave me pressure, he spat, advancing on me, always pushing me to be like you. The workshop this, precision that. I hated it. I hated your small, boring, meticulous life. I wanted more. I deserved more. He turned to Sarah. She flinched, expecting a blow. He looked at her with utter contempt. And you, always so weak, always crying. You suffocated me. This was the cruelty that broke me. Not the drugs, not the guns, but this cold, calculated, emotional violence. He saw us not as parents, but as obstacles, as failures. Get out, I said. My voice shook with a rage so profound it scared me. Give me money, or I swear, Dad, you'll regret it, he threatened. His face inches from mine. Get out, I roared. I shoved him back, hard. He stumbled, shocked. He stared at me. Then the ugly laugh returned. Fine. Have it your way. He turned to the window, then paused. A cruel smile twisted his lips. But when they catch me, I'm telling them everything. I'm telling them you were in on it from the beginning. He climbed back out, the window, disappearing into the night, leaving behind the wreckage of our family, and a threat hanging over our heads. The silence after he left was toxic, suffocating. Sarah wasn't crying. She was staring at the open window, shocked into silence. I stood in the center of the kitchen, the weight of his words, his threats, crushing me. He was willing to lie, to claim I was involved, just to save himself. The illusion was shattered. The son I loved was gone, replaced by a monster. I walked over to the window and locked it. The metallic click sounded final, absolute. I went into my workshop. My sanctuary. I sat on my stool, surrounded by the tools of my trade. Precision instruments, designed to shape metal with absolute accuracy. I had built my life on order, on control, and now everything was chaos. I felt old, tired, defeated. But then I saw it, a small detail that shifted everything. A small, poorly machined aluminum gear sat on the shelf. Ethan made that. Years ago. The tolerances were off. The finish rough. It's good enough, Dad, he'd said when I tried to show him how to fix it. Stop obsessing over the details. Nobody cares. Details are the difference between something working and something failing. Ethan, I had replied. He hadn't cared about the details then. And now, his carelessness was about to cause the catastrophic failure of our family. The memory didn't bring sadness. It ignited a cold, focused anger. The exhaustion vanished. Replaced by clarity, sharp as diamond-tipped steel. He thought I was weak, predictable, a grease monkey. He thought he could dismantle my life with threats and lies. He was wrong. It was time to pay attention to the details. It was time to fight back. I needed information. I needed to understand the scope of the rot. I couldn't just rely on what I knew. I needed to know who Rico really was. I needed to know Ethan's weak spots. I remembered Jenna, Ethan's girlfriend from college. They broke up when he dropped out. She was smart, grounded. She saw the change in him before anyone else. I found her number in Sarah's old address book. I called her. She agreed to meet me. A coffee shop across town. She looked nervous when I arrived. She kept stirring her latte, the spoon clinking against the ceramic, avoiding eye contact. Mr. Harris, it's been a long time, she said, her voice quiet. Jenna, I need help. Ethan's in trouble. Deep trouble. Her eyes widened. I know. He called me a few days ago, begging for money. He sounded desperate. Scared. Who is he involved with, Jenna? A man named Rico? She flinched at the name. Her knuckles turned white as she gripped her mug. You can't say that name out loud. Rico is dangerous, Mr. Harris. He runs this town. Drugs. Guns. Everything. Ethan is working for him, she nodded. Tears welled in her eyes. He got in deep. He thought he was smart. He started laundering money for them, using fake tech startups. She paused, swallowing hard, but he got greedy, Mr. Harris. He skimmed off the top. Skimming, stealing from a crime boss. That explained why he needed the $20,000. He wasn't investing. He was trying to cover his tracks. He wasn't just working for Rico. He was running from him. The package, I said. The one that was delivered to my house. Was that Rico's? Yes, she whispered, looking around the coffee shop nervously. It was a shipment Ethan was supposed to move, but he knew Rico was suspicious. He panicked. I used your address as a temporary safe house. He thought he could get it before you noticed, then claim it got lost in transit. She confirmed my fears, but she also gave me something crucial. Ethan wasn't just sloppy, he was terrified, and terrified people make mistakes. I thanked Jenna. I told her to be careful. I went back to the workshop. Now I knew the enemy, and I knew my son's weakness. I opened the safe in my office. I pulled out my laptop. I accessed the cloud backup of Ethan's old computer, the one he'd abandoned. I bypassed the passwords. Skills learned, securing my own network. What I found was a rabbit hole of darkness. Emails, encrypted chat logs, offshore financial transactions. Jenna was right. He was deeply involved. The evidence of the money laundering, the skimming, the drug trafficking. It was overwhelming. And then I found the deeper betrayal, the one that made the Father's Day delivery look like a childish prank. I found an email thread between Ethan and Rico. Ethan, the drop is compromised. My old man called the cops. The package is gone. Rico, you used your family address. Are you insane? If the cops trace this back to us, Ethan, they won't. The package was addressed to Frank Miller. I already seeded a story with the cops anonymously that a Frank Miller was threatening me using my dad's address as a front. They'll be chasing ghosts. He had planned for this. A contingency. He was playing everyone, manipulating the narrative, setting me up as a confused victim. But it was the final email that chilled me to the bone. It detailed his insurance policy, the plan to destroy me. Ethan, if the heat gets too close, I have a fallback. My dad's workshop. He's old school. Keeps undocumented cash in the safe for off-the-books jobs. And some of his specialized inventory isn't exactly legit. Dual-use technology, he claims, is for custom auto parts. I can give the cops enough to build a case against him. He goes down for tax evasion and illegal manufacturing. I walk, they get a conviction. I get a clean slate. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. Lies woven with threads of truth. I did keep cash in the safe, but it was documented. I did manufacture specialized parts, but everything was legal. He knew how to twist those facts, how to make my legitimate business look like a criminal enterprise. The betrayal cut so deep I couldn't breathe. He wasn't just reckless, he was malicious. He had analyzed my life, my habits, my vulnerabilities, and weaponized them against me. My own. If this story is keeping you hooked, drop a like. It was that moment I knew I couldn't just defend myself. I had to attack. I had to take him down. The transformation began then. The grieving father disappeared. The bewildered victim vanished. In his place was someone else. Colder, smarter, ruthless. I couldn't afford emotion anymore. I needed precision. I started working. I printed everything. The emails, the chat logs, the financial transactions. I organized the evidence, a timeline of Ethan's descent. His involvement with Rico, his plan to frame me. It was enough to bury Ethan, but it wasn't enough to save me if he acted first. I needed to set a trap, a precise, meticulously engineered trap. I called Detective Rollins. Detective, I said, my voice steady, controlled. I have information about Ethan. I know what he's planning. He's going to try and frame me. We can offer you protection, Mr. Harris, Rollins said, cautious. That's not enough, I said. I know how he's going to do it, and I know how to stop him. But I need your help. I need you to trust me. I told him about the insurance policy, the workshop, the plan. I told him what Jenna told me about the skimming. I think Rollins was skeptical at first. But when I emailed him the evidence, the chat logs detailing the plan, his tone changed. Okay, Mr. Harris, he said, the weariness replaced by adrenaline. Tell me what you need. I spent the next few hours setting the stage. I knew Ethan would come back. He was desperate. Desperation breeds predictability. He needed his insurance policy. He needed to destroy me to save himself. I went back to the workshop. I opened the safe. I placed the printed evidence inside, hidden in a false bottom I had engineered years ago for sensitive blueprints. Then I did something that felt like driving a knife into my own heart. I took $50,000 from the business account. Cash. I placed it in the safe. In clear view, the bait. Then I went into the inventory database. I started manipulating the records, creating discrepancies, fabricating off-the-books transactions that matched Ethan's lies. I was creating the very evidence he planned to use against me. It was a massive gamble, a terrifying risk. But I knew my son. He was arrogant. He believed he was smarter than everyone else. He believed in good enough, not precision. And that would be his downfall. I installed high-definition micro cameras in the office, focused on the safe. Rollins and his team set up a live feed. I put on the wire Detective Rollins provided. The cold plastic against my skin felt strange. Alien. I was ready. The trap was set. The sun set. Long shadows crossed the workshop floor. The air was thick with the smell of machine oil and silent tension. I waited in the main area, pretending to work on a lathe, waiting for the inevitable. Around 10 p.m. I heard it, the sound of a key turning in the side door lock. Ethan still had his key, a detail I had overlooked until now. He slipped inside, silent as a shadow. He moved with confidence. He thought the workshop was empty. I watched him on the security feed on my phone. My heart hammered in my chest. This was it. He went straight to the office. He disabled the main alarm system, using the code I hadn't changed in years. Another detail. Another mistake. He went to the safe. He knew the combination. He opened it. A smug, self-satisfied look spread across his face as the heavy door swung open. He saw the cash. The fabricated inventory logs I had left on the desk. He thought he had won. He thought his insurance policy was secure. He thought I was finished. He pulled out his phone, started taking pictures. He was documenting the evidence against me, sealing his own fate. I stepped out of the shadows. I walked into the office. Ethan, I said. He spun around, eyes wide with shock. He dropped the phone on the desk. He quickly regained his composure. The arrogance returned, but I saw the fear beneath the surface. Dad, what are you doing here? He asked, trying to sound casual, leaning against the open safe door. I work here, Ethan. Remember? I said, my voice calm. This small, boring, meticulous life. Right. He glanced at the cash. I was just looking for something I left behind. Looking for your insurance policy? I asked, my voice devoid of emotion. He froze. The mask slipped. I don't know what you're talking about. The undocumented cash, the not exactly legit inventory, the evidence you were going to use to frame me. I pointed to the inventory logs on the desk. His face paled. He realized I knew. He realized he had walked into a trap. You went through my computer, he hissed. Low, dangerous. I did. I saw everything. Ethan? The emails to Rico, the money laundering, skimming off the top. I paused, letting the words sink in. The plan to sacrifice me, to save yourself. He backed away, his eyes darting towards the door. It's not what it looks like. I can explain. It's exactly what it looks like, I said, advancing on him, You betrayed us, Ethan. You brought danger into our home. You threatened your mother, and you were willing to destroy my life. No, he screamed. His composure finally broke. The desperation clawed its way out. I had to. Rico was going to kill me. I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice, Ethan. I roared. The rage erupted, the grief, the pain of the last year boiling over. You chose greed. You chose arrogance. You chose yourself. He grabbed the phone from the desk, his hand trembling. It doesn't matter what you know. I have the proof. I have the pictures. I can still make the deal. I can still bury you. He held up the phone, the screen displaying the photos of the cash and the fabricated logs. The proof of what, Ethan? I asked. My voice dropped to a cold whisper. That you broke into my workshop and documented the evidence I created. He looked confused. What? Those logs are fake, Ethan. The cash is accounted for. You documented a fabrication, a trap. He stared at me, realization dawning. He looked at the logs again. Closer. He recognized the flaws, the subtle inconsistencies I had deliberately introduced, the details he always ignored. You set me up, he whispered. Disbelief. No, Ethan, I said, the words heavy with sorrow. You set yourself up. I just provided the materials. At that moment, the workshop doors burst open. Blinding light flooded the space. Police! Ethan Harris! Hands in the air. Detective Rollins and a team of officers swarmed the office. Guns. Ethan dropped the phone. His hands shot up. He looked at the police, then at me. Shock. Betrayal. We got the warrant, Mr. Harris, Rollins said, walking towards Ethan. Based on the evidence you provided earlier today, the emails, the chat logs. Ethan started laughing, hysterical, broken. The evidence. He tricked me. He planted that stuff. We know, Ethan, Rollins said, cuffing him. We were watching the whole thing, the cameras you missed. The audio feed. Rollins nodded at me. The wire. We heard your confession. Precision. As they led him away, Ethan looked back at me. His eyes weren't filled with anger or hatred. They were empty, devoid of light. Happy Father's Day, Dad, he said, his voice hollow. The words hit me harder than any blow. I watched him go, the son I loved, the monster he became. I had won. I had protected my family, my legacy. But the victory felt like ash in my mouth. The aftermath was a whirlwind. Legal proceedings. Media attention. The evidence I gathered was instrumental in bringing down Rico and his organization. Victor, the muscle who threatened me, was arrested the next day. They all fell, like dominoes. Ethan, facing a mountain of charges. Drugs, guns, money laundering, conspiracy, took a plea deal. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison, a lifetime. The emotional fallout was harder to quantify. Sarah struggled with the reality of what Ethan had become and what I had done to stop him. The silence in the house was heavy, filled with ghosts. We leaned on each other, finding strength in our shared grief. But the cracks in our foundation were deep. We were safe, but we were broken. I went back to the workshop. I needed the routine, the precision, the order. I corrected the inventory logs. I deposited the $50,000 back into the account. I changed the locks, upgraded the security, but the workshop didn't feel like a sanctuary anymore. It felt like a crime scene, the place where my relationship with my son died. Months passed. The trial came and went. We didn't attend the sentencing. I couldn't bear to see Ethan in a courtroom. Shackled, broken, I couldn't bear to face the reality that I was the one who put him there. It was the right thing to do, the just thing. But it left a scar on my soul that would never heal. We sold the house. We couldn't live with the memory of the shiny blue box, the open kitchen window, the echoes of betrayal. We moved to a small condo across town, starting over, less space, less history. A clean slate. A year later, it was Father's Day again, the day I dreaded. I woke up early. The silence of the condo pressed down on me. I went downstairs. Sarah was in the kitchen, reading a book, coffee beside her. She looked up, her eyes soft, Understanding. Happy Father's Day, David, she said quietly. I nodded, unable to say the words back. The day felt hollow. Later that day, a letter arrived. From the correctional facility. From Ethan. My hands trembled as I opened it. A single page. The same sloppy scrawl. Dad, I know I don't deserve to call you that. I destroyed everything. I blamed you for my choices, my failures. I was weak, arrogant, and wrong. Prison is hell, but it's given me clarity. I see the truth now. I see what I became. I'm sorry. For the betrayal. For the danger. For the pain I caused Mom. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I understand why you did it. You always said details matter. I finally understand what that means. Ethan. I read the letter over and over, the words blurring through tears I hadn't allowed myself to shed until now. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a happy ending. But it was something, acknowledgement, a flicker of the boy I remembered, buried beneath the wreckage. I looked at Sarah. Tears mirrored my own. I handed her the letter. We stood there, in the quiet kitchen, the weight of the past year finally lifting. We had lost our son, but we had survived. We had faced the darkness and emerged. Scarred but not broken. I went to the small workshop I had set up in the condo's garage. I picked up the poorly machined aluminum gear Ethan had made. I looked at the rough edges, the imprecise tolerances. I turned on the lathe. I started working on it, smoothing the edges, correcting the errors, not to fix the past, but to shape the future. Fatherhood isn't just about love and protection. Sometimes it's about the agonizing choice between the child you love and the truth. And sometimes the most precise cut is the one that severs the connection to save what remains. I was still a father, and I had done my job. Thanks for listening. Please rate our story in the comments. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot, because your time matters.